Over the years, I've built several digital clocks, and the first one I did was a Heathkit CG1005. Of course, it's long gone. It got thrown out years ago, but I did find another one, and I picked it up, and it was working, and it died. And I fixed it, and it died again. So we're going to go in and see if we can see why it's died and hopefully get it working. I hope it's not the Mostech chip, because then it'd be SOL, but let's check it out. Well, isn't this strange? See, I just repaired one of these for a fellow there a couple weeks back that had the diode that was popped, so no high voltage. And he got it back and says everything was working, and then all of a sudden it started losing time. And then stopped. And I thought, okay, that's odd. And then I just happened to notice that mine has stopped. So I wonder if they both developed the same problem. I wonder if it's the Mostech chip that's starting to fail or a connection problem. Let's just give this thing a tap and see whether it will start to function again. So I'm just going to give it a tap on the top here. So how these operate, and I think I've still got the schematic for it, but they operate by counting the incoming AC signal, the AC pulse, AC waveform. It's clipped and it's sent to the chip, and it counts it, and every time it counts 60 pulses, it increases the counter by 1 second. So one of two things has happened. Either it's losing that signal through a connection problem, for example, or a component that's going bad. I think connection, because if it was a component that's going bad, tapping it generally wouldn't make it start working. But or it could be the Mostech chip itself or a connection. Anyway, let's pull it apart and see if I can figure it out. I had this happen before, and I resoldered some connections inside, and it worked fine for a couple years, and it's doing it again. So maybe it's the same thing or something else, but let's pull this one apart again and see if we can get to the bottom of it. To refresh everyone's memory on how this runs, this is using the Mostech, I think it's 5017, MK5017A Mostech chip. It was the first digital clock chip on a single chip. It has about 5,000 transistors in it, which is nothing. That's nothing compared to what a modern chip has, but at the time this was a game changer. And how the time is synchronized is through this circuitry here. You will note that off of the low voltage transformer, remember the one that I had a few weeks back, it was this diode here on the high voltage side, but there's also two diodes on the low voltage side. There's a diode here that is clamped with a Zener diode and a capacitor, and that provides the 15 volt, can't even read it, what is it, 15 volts? Maybe 15, it's a Zener diode. And that clamps the voltage coming in to the chip. Looks like it's 15 volts. It's hard to read, the print isn't that good, but yeah, 15 volts. So that's your DC going in, and it's filtered through C201. The AC also takes this path through this other diode here, and this diode has like a 0.0, I think it's a 0.07 microfarad cap on it. It's not to filter DC, it's just to give a half wave pulse. So you've got a 60 hertz pulse, because normally your AC waveform, right? It's cutting off half of it. So there'd be 120 pulses per second, but when it's clipped to half wave, you've got 60 pulses per second, because the AC waveform does this 60 times a second in North America and 50 times per second in Europe, which you can select with a switch without putting a jumper in. So it either counts 60 pulses or 50 pulses for 1 second. Anyway, if this signal disappears or is incorrect, it's not going to count it, and it's going to freeze, and that is exactly what has happened. So this is the area I'm going to concentrate. I'm going to concentrate on this diode, and it's just a regular, I think it's a 4001 or 4002. It's nothing fancy, it's just a regular ordinary diode. That diode could be bad, that could be causing it, although when I tap it, it starts working, but it could be the junction in the diode. It could be the junction inside the chip too, or it could be, I think this chip is plugged into a socket. Anyway, we'll open this thing up and see. And this is the CG1005, by the way. This was the first digital clock that Heathkit produced as a kit. I told you guys the story before. This is not my original one. My original one I built, and I used the wrong type of solder when I was putting it together. And actually I didn't use the wrong type of solder. I probably did. It was probably acid core solder, but I built it when I was in junior high school. And we had this old teacher that we used to call Mr. Bonehead. I don't know how he got that name. Maybe because he was bald, and I don't know. But anyway, he used to be called Bonehead. Or because maybe he was a bonehead. Yeah, probably because he was a bonehead. Anyway, he was set in his ways, and when we were building these kits and stuff, and it was probably either grade 8 or grade 9, I forget. I know that I was never allowed to plug this thing in because we weren't allowed to work with AC powered equipment. And I actually didn't do that well in his class because I brought a kit and everybody else was building their little projects on pref boards with point-to-point wiring, and I had a kit with a circuit board. So I lost marks for the fact that mine was a kit. There's my original capacitors I replaced on this thing years ago. But you see the chip itself is socketed, so it could very well be that just one of these connections is not making a good connection to the chip, or it could be the soldering on it. But it's pin number 23 is the one that's of interest. So it would be that one over there. And it looks like at some point some of those pins been soldered in, or is it just the way the socket looks? It just almost looks like there's solder in there, is it? Maybe it's just the socket. That's probably where the fault is. It's probably the pin here is not making a good connection in the socket. That's more than likely what the fault is on this. I don't know if I can lift this up or not. Will it lift, or is it? Yeah, it'll lift. It'll lift a bit. I wonder if a little bit of deoxit down onto those contacts might be in order. I'm just going to get my D100. I'll put a drop of deoxit on the chip itself and just kind of lift it and set it down a bit, because it could be a connection that is causing it. I'm pretty sure last time I had this problem I resoldered on the bottom. I'll pull the board again just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure I did resolder that, but we'll take a look at it again. I know I did work on this for this problem once before. So I got this one here, Deoxit Gold GMX. This is apparently, I guess, for gold contacts. This is for all metal electrical connections. I've never used this stuff. I got this was the vacuum tube cleaning kit for cleaning the tube sockets, and as you can see, half the bottle is already gone because it must have leached out here somewhere. Don't smell it, but maybe it's leaked out, or I don't think I've ever used it. But this is Deoxit D25L. And this says chemically improves flammable liquid and vapor. I've also got this, which is the 100% concentrate, non-flammable. This one's flammable. This must have alcohol in it. But anyway, I guess some of it is evaporated, which is unfortunate. I've never used this. This was the consultation gift that they sent to anybody who submitted basically a commercial for them in their contest, which I won $1,000 the first year, and then the second year I was invited to enter again, and I entered, and they sent me this kit saying, here, this is our way of saying thanks for taking another run at it. And I think I've told you guys before this, I was in first place, and all of a sudden I got an email telling me that I was disqualified because they had detected that somebody out there was voting through a VPN, which was not allowed. And I had no idea what was going on, but they disqualified a few of us that were on there, and that was it. And I kind of haven't been promoting their stuff since because they kind of pissed me off. But maybe I will use this one on this chip. It's got a little brush on here. Is this just the, I don't even know what this is for. Conditioner protector for all metal contacts. Anyway, these are gold pins, so let's just dab a little bit of this on here. And then I'll just reseat the chip. Just lift it up just a little bit on both sides. Don't want to lift it all the way out. Just enough to reseat it. Maybe that's all it needs. But I think I will pull the board and I'll look at the connections on the circuitry that goes to the counting circuit. So we'll just lift the board out. And I can assure you that the one I built when I was like, I don't know, I think I was 13 maybe. I'm trying to remember, it was like 1970, might have been 76. I think it was 76. I would have been like 13. I was in junior high anyway. But I guarantee you the construction probably wasn't as neat as this. Oh, it might have been. I might have done a good job on it. I forget. All I remember is that Mr. Bonehead, the teacher that we had, he was a stickler for doing things his way, and his way was you use that Kester solder paste, you know, the stuff that plumbers use to clean the ends of copper pipes before they solder an elbow on or a coupler. You know, when you're plumbing, you shine up the end. You deburr the inside and you shine up the end with some steel wool, make it nice and shiny, get all the copper oxide off, and then you put a layer of paste on it, put the connection together, heat it up with your torch, and then apply your solder and it sucks it in. That stuff, it's an acid-based paste, and he required that anytime anybody soldered anything, most of the kids in the class were just doing point-to-point stuff and wiring, twisting wires together and soldering them on a breadboard. But that had to be applied liberally or you did not get a score in his class. And I just remember smearing that stuff all over the board when I was doing it, and well, it didn't run very long, and then it started doing all kinds of weird things. And I never bothered to fix it. You know, I had lost interest in it at that point, and I just kind of set it aside. Oh, there's one more screw here. No wonder it's not lifting out. I kind of set it aside in my parents' garage, and it sat there. And then when I moved out, when they were cleaning up, everything got tossed. There was stuff there that I would have loved to have kept, but it all got tossed in the trash. I lost the clock. Would have loved to have gone through and fixed it, because it would have just been connection problems for sure and board damage, but I never got the opportunity because off to the landfill it went. And then I found this one, and it wasn't too expensive because I had to fix it, which I did. Here's the pin here, 23. 23 comes down over to these connections here. I'm just going to resolder this connection in. Right here, this might be where the problem is. Take a look right here at this edge here. That kind of looks like maybe it's not good. Maybe there's a hairline fracture right there. I'll put a piece of wire over to here. Just bypass that. Because that trace there looks like it might be. That might be the cause right there on pin 23. So we'll jumper a wire over there, and that way I'm sure that it won't be a fault going forward. Actually, a number of these solder connections don't look that great, but I haven't been having any trouble with it, so I'm just going to leave them. So to say, I didn't pay a lot of money. I mean, some of these things go for stupid money on eBay. And I mean stupid money. There was a local guy that was asking, one that had a bad display. Like one that had a display that was, I think that was just either the seconds or the hours was bad. At least it was bad in the picture. One guy locally was asking $250 for it. I said, "Are you on drugs?" I got this one for, I think it was $40. When I found it, it was 40 bucks. It didn't work. I had to fix it. The capacitors were bad when I got it, but it was $40. And I think I paid $10 shipping, or $5 shipping. It wasn't much. I had it shipped. I mean, I got this before the pandemic, back in, I forget what year, maybe 2018. I had it shipped to my P.O. box that I have in the States, and I went down and picked it up. It cost me $5 to, to have anything shipped there. I have to pay to pick stuff up. But I had it shipped down to the States and picked it up, because shipping to Canada, the guy was going to charge me like $85 to ship it to Canada, and it was like $5 to ship it to the States. So I had it shipped to the States and paid the extra $5 to pick it up. I stopped doing that though, because when I had something else sent to me, sent through the States, and I got some prick at Canada Customs, and even though it was something that was donated to me, so there was no charge, it was a gift, I brought it back across the border, and he says, "What are you bringing back?" And I told him what I was bringing, that it was gifted to me. It was surplus electronics that was no good. And this prick proceeded to go on eBay and look up the price of what people were asking for salvage units, and then proceeded to calculate the tax on a salvage price. And I had to pay tax and duty on something that was broken. So I basically told the guy at the time, "I'm not paying the tax and duty. You guys can keep it." And I paid the money to have it picked up on the American side in Point Roberts. I paid them their $5, but I abandoned it at the border, because it was going to cost me like $60, and because they declared it at no value, but I just got some new guy on a power trip that calculated out that it was worth money, and tried to charge me the money on it. It's like, no. I said, I will just abandon it. It has no value to me, and abandon it. I'm surprised. I brought my scope in when the scope was donated to me. I brought my scope in, and it just, what do you got? I was given an old oscilloscope for free, surplus. Okay, go ahead. Every other time it was, go ahead, no problem. And I say, this one time I had this one jerk, and what the kicker to this is my sister was a customs agent, and she worked at that office, and she's sitting there. I can see her in there, and I can't talk to her, because obviously that's a conflict of interest. So I can see her sitting there doing her work while the guy at the next window is giving me, putting me through the ringer, and I just said, "So, piss off, keep it." So I don't do that anymore. I don't have stuff shipped to the States. If someone's sending me something to repair, then I have them ship it to Canada and let them pay the price to ship it here. See how confident I am that this is going to work? I'm going to put the screws in it before I even plug it in. Watch it not work. Watch it be dead now. Watch me have killed it. I guess I'll have to just let this thing run and see if it acts up again. These had a really long power cord on it. Look at the length of the power cord. It's like probably, I don't know, it's probably 10 feet, the power cord. Okay, I got the 4/8. Let's set the time. Okay, so that starts it counting. Okay, we'll set it to 0. I gotta set the, that's the set that to 2, and I'm going to press both switches to set it to 3, and then I got to set the hours to 1. And then exactly at 1:32 I flick the switch. I'm watching my little CRT clock, and that starts it running. This other one here, this is for the alarm time, which I don't set. So now it's running. So I guess time will tell. Literally, time will tell whether it keeps running or not. But that's my GC 1005. As you can see, it is in pretty much mint condition. I don't think you will find another one of these clocks. You'd be hard pressed to find another one of these clocks that looks this good. These are the original tubes. These are Panoplex tubes. They are a neon gas discharge tube. They run at about 170 volts or so, and this is basically called a plasma display because it works off the same principle as a plasma TV does. It's a cold cathode gas discharge. They are super rare, super cool, and I'm glad I found this one, and I'm glad I found it for the price I did, because for what people are asking for these things out there now, it is out of this world, the prices that they are asking for these clocks. But there's just something that's so neat about these ones. And let's say the one I've got is in pretty much mint condition, considering something that's 50 years old. This is in really great condition. I hope that that's all it was and it's not the chip itself, but I guess we'll find out if it stops. It won't stop today. It might stop a week from now, right? I won't know for a while. If it continues to keep time and doesn't drop time. That's the first thing I noticed, was when the first time I noticed that there was a problem was it was slow by, one day I looked at it and, well, why is it 10 seconds slow? Because I've got this as well. I synchronize it with that. I'm probably off just a bit. Yeah, see? Look at that. I'm absolutely perfect timing. So that time is off of my BlackBerry Z10 that is running off power. And that time is synchronized to the cellular network, which is synchronized to the GPS network. Same with the time signal on the internet, right? But this is synchronized to the GPS, which is on the cellular network. It has a SIM card in it. It's not active. It's an unactivated phone, but it does have a SIM card in it, and the radio is active. So it picks up the time signals. The entire cellular network is all GPS locked. That's how CDMA works. All the base stations and all the antennas all have to be synchronized with each other, and your phone is synchronized with that network. So everything is GPS. This is the exact time within nanoseconds of the atomic clock. So I set my line frequency based clock to that, and if it stays in sync, then we know it's working. But what happened was I noticed that it was off by 20 seconds one day. I thought, why is it off by 20 seconds? And then the next day it was off by like 45 seconds. And then it was off by a couple minutes. And then it stopped. And I gave it a tap and it started up again. And then it stopped again. And then on the 8th, the other day, I guess it was yesterday, I get an email from the fellow that I fixed the other one for, the one that had the bad diode, and he says, I thought I would share you the status of my 1005. He says, I plugged it in and proceeded to set things looked good. However, when I came back a little while later, I noticed it lost some time. I was losing like 10 to 15 seconds every minute. So he didn't have a scope. He's looked at the terminal input 23 on the MOSTEC, and his fluke showed that the frequency was there. And he's going on, I replaced the die I did, and then I had to get back to him and say, it's funny because it's no sooner had I received, I just started having trouble with mine the other day, and then I get this email from this fellow that I fixed his for, and he's having the same trouble. So it's weird, but it could have been a connection. It could have been where that chip plugs in, I guess. It still could be the MOSTEC chip, but to have two of them showing the same fault in such a short time, maybe these chips are getting to the end of their life. Hope not, because they're they're completely obsolete now, right? But anyway, I figured I would share that with you guys. Very, very strange. In fact, I documented mine when it first acted up. Mine first went out on August the 1st. That's when mine acted up. I just noticed that it wasn't working, and I recorded this on my phone and sent it to a buddy of mine over Messenger, and this is what I had to say to him. Well, shit. My little Heathkit clock has stopped. I wonder what's up with it. Let me just give it a tap. This counts the AC frequency coming in. Must have a connection in there. The chip counts the incoming. That was a message I was sending to a buddy. It must have a bad connection or something that's gone bad in there and stopping it. But this is my favorite little clock. This is a neon. This is a plasma display. Yeah, isn't that cool? Anyway, this is a message I sent to a buddy when mine stopped working. But isn't that's just a coincidence that that mine stopped, and then a week later, one that I had repaired by changing a diode in the high voltage circuit, it started stopping. So who knows? Hopefully it was just that connection on that pin 23 that I put the jumper wire in just to make sure, because that one bottom side of it looked like it might not have been a good connection. It might have been cracked there, but it also could be the socket, the pins just oxidating over the years and not making a good connection on those pins on the socket, because those sockets weren't the greatest anyway. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.